My name is Savannah Ventura, and today I will be discussing encryption and confidentiality. Before I get into detail about explaining what my topic is, I would like to explain how I made my website. I made my website by using a website called cPanel, which you can see here. This website allows you to format your website while using different web pages, which are all linked into one. As for me, I use 6 different web pages, which are the index, purpose, impacts and effects, technical aspects, relationships to data, and the reference page. From here, we can choose any web page from our cPanel file manager. Here, I will choose the index web page. Once we open up the file, you can see a bunch of things that may look like gibberish to you. This is called coding in CSS properties. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet, which allows us to internally and externally style our web page. Internally styling is when we use tags such as these here, the head and the body, and also the paragraph tags. There are a lot more that we use, but I could go on forever about those. As for external styling, we use specific classes and IDs to classify headings, tables, paragraphs, and other things from each other. This external styling allows us to give certain parts of our web page attributes to personally customize our page. This includes text color, text font, and things such as those. Alright, so back to my homepage. You may be wondering how I made my GIF or GIF, however you want to pronounce it. I used easygifs.com, which is where I chose 3 images. One is my logo, another a picture of me, and the other is a picture pertaining to my topic. Then the website did the rest of the work for me. As for my logo and banner, you will see this on the next page. Alright, so I made my logo using a program called Pixlr. Here's my logo right here in the upper left-hand corner. So in Pixlr, this is where you can import pictures, add text, layers, and pretty much anything you want until your logo satisfies your needs. Then I saved it as a PNG, so that way my transparent background would be preserved. My banner, which is this whole entire top section here, was used using the same techniques as my logo. The only differences really are the size and having to include my logo on the banner. To form my banner, I had to pick a background photo and use filters and textures to complete its finalized look. Overall, this is a basic summary of some programs used to style my web page. Now getting back to my web page on encryption and confidentiality. Encryption is today's most effective way to achieve data security. The only way to read an encrypted file is to have access to a secret key or password that enables you to encrypt the message. As for confidentiality, it is a set of rules or a promise that limits access or places restrictions on certain types of information. Overall, at the end of my video lecture, you will learn that encryption and confidentiality go hand in hand and how they are important in today's time. As many of you may already know, the overall purpose of encryption and confidentiality is to keep information safe. Encryption is to protect the confidentiality of digital data that is stored on our computers or even transmitted via the internet. Today's encryption algorithms play a vital role in the security assurance of IT systems and communications, which in turn provides confidentiality to unauthorized parties. Due to my research, it is clear to see that the internet is not safe without encryption and confidentiality because of authentication, integrity, non-repudiation, which are just a few to be named. Encryption has many beneficial effects. The main beneficial effect is that it keeps our personal information safe. Encryption is not only a large portion of the payment card industry, but is also included in the HIPAA high-tech. Encryption is mandatory in the protection of healthcare information since it is a critical part of our standard to keep our information confidential from others. Although not all standards call for encryption, it is highly recommended given the high cost of breach notifications revealing our personal information. So doesn't it make sense to have encryption? I mean, I'm sure none of us would shop online if our credit card information was unencrypted, keeping it confidential from hackers. Just like everything else, encryption, which leads to confidentiality, has its pros and cons. A major problem with encryption is the cost. Encryption seems to be expensive because companies must hire people who know how to run the systems that maintain the data encryption and know how to work with the given capacity and upgrades to perform such tasks. Without these people and capable systems, then our personal information, such as our medical records and credit card information, can easily be accessed and used by anyone in the world. Therefore, companies must look at all of the considerations to make an appropriate informed decision on who they hire to run their entire data encryption systems. In this video, you will see my mom explain the positive and negative effects that encryption and confidentiality has had on her life while working in the medical field. But first, let me briefly explain how I took the video. I had to interview someone, and at that time I had to record them. So I used my iPhone, which I had to hold horizontally, for a bigger and better picture. Once I uploaded my video to my laptop, I had to import them onto a program called Movie Maker. And there, I was able to cut my videos so they would flow into each other. I also was able to add music, a title page, text, and animation to make the videos look somewhat professional. So here we go. Let me show you what my video looks like.
Since I work in the healthcare industry, patient confidentiality is one of the utmost importance. When communicating with others via email, all emails must be secured when patient information is included. A confidential message accompanies all emails. This confidential message is attached to all our emails in order to protect any patient information that may be included. Also, by encrypting our messages, only those who have access may view the confidential information, therefore protecting our patients' rights for privacy as required in the HIPAA regulations.
As you may already be able to tell, encryption and confidentiality has an impact on our everyday lives. Prior to the RSA, the government and their armies were the only ones to use it. In today's times, pretty much everyone uses it, whether it be on their phone, computer, etc. Encryption helps consumers protect their personal data while it is being sent across a network and stored onto hard drives, cell phones, etc. Some people don't understand that encryption and confidentiality isn't just used over the internet. It is also used at ATMs or to simply call or send a text message to a friend. This is why confidentiality is important to help prevent unauthorized use and reproduction of our personal information. To the right, you will see a chart in which I made in Google Sheets after a survey that I made in Google Forms. Google Forms gives you an outline to make surveys, which you can then make your own. Once putting in the questions given to me by my professor, I had to ask people to take my survey. Once I had my results and made a Google spreadsheet, I was able to take certain information and make a graph to show how many males versus females knew about encryption and confidentiality before my survey. As for the graph in the lower left-hand corner, it shows the growth of secure traffic on mobile networks. In other words, it shows how encryption and confidentiality has increased tremendously since 2014. I chose to show this graph because it is an ideal example of why and how we use this innovation. Cell phones are getting bigger and bigger by the day, and we can pretty much do anything on them, from phone calls to paying our bills online. So our information needs to be protected, which makes daily cell phone use another way this innovation is used. Besides cell phones, the field that encryption and confidentiality is used in is the healthcare field. HIPAA, which is the law designed to provide privacy standards to protect patients' medical records and other health information, is used throughout the whole healthcare field. HIPAA makes it that encryption is placed on all files within hospitals to protect patient records, allowing only certain people with access to them. Encryption pretty much makes the world around us. It's used every time you make a phone call or use the ATM. It's a daily thing. It is even as simple as unlocking your phone. Even though we may not think about how encryption works, it is a critical aspect of our lives today. We as humans depend on it. Without encryption, none of our information would be safe, making it extremely vital to us. And this is how users interact with my innovation. Encryption is based off of a mathematical algorithm, which protects our data. These mathematical algorithms scramble information from plain text to coded text. This information is then confidential and only available to the person who it is intended for, allowing them to decode and read the message. Without these mathematical algorithms, then encryption would not be a thing. Without encryption, no one's information is safe. I'm now going to show you a video that explains how encryption is used and protects our data on a daily basis.
Hi, Amazon? Yeah, I received my package, but, it's super encrypted. I don't think I can open it. I don't have the software for it. Yeah, I'll hold. Encryption protects your emails, banking transactions, and even those questionable Etsy purchases. It's a way of protecting data from malicious hackers, spies, and online criminals. In an encryption scheme, a mathematical algorithm scrambles information, plain text, into gibberish, ciphertext, that can only be decoded by its intended recipient. Julius Caesar actually used ciphertext by moving the letters in the alphabet 3 spaces down. So A would equal X. This would turn a normal message into a strange grouping of letters that could only be deciphered by those who knew the technique. In a classic example, Alice wants to send Bob a message. Eve, however, is eavesdropping on them and intercepting their communications. So how can Alice and Bob communicate without having their convo heard? Alice and Bob decide to use public key encryption. In this scheme, Alice and Bob each have 2 sets of keys, a public one, which everyone can see and access, and a private one, which they must keep secret at all times. Data encrypted with a public key can only be opened using a private key, and data encrypted with a private key can only be opened with a public key. Alice uses Bob's public key to encrypt her message. Now, only Bob's private key can open the message. Bob receives it and uses the private key to open it. But how can Bob be sure that Alice really sent the message? Instead, Alice will use Bob's public key and her private key to encrypt the message. Bob must use Alice's public key and then his private key to open the message and verify that it is really from her. Eve, all the while, cannot see the message because she does not have anyone's secret keys. Wait a minute. Has anyone ever figured out what Alice was trying to say to Bob? And what's going on with Eve? Like, why is it so important that she needs to know everything they're saying to each other? Seriously, this has always bothered me.
This is my reference page, where the most useful websites are located. If you look at the first one, you will see that most of my information is from this page. Let me click on it for you. Scrolling down, you are able to see where I got most of my information from. Thank you for listening to my presentation. You can visit the rest of my page at vannav300.vps.cs.uri.edu/index.html. Thank you for listening to my presentation.